What's going on? Boys, arm yourselves. Life stuff. We are working on a few things, so we will try to keep this brief. A few observations on dating in this position in society, and then a couple observations on men and women in social causes, movements. In the last 2 months, I'd say, I've noticed I'm getting a lot more attention. And I've been thinking, why don't you take a chance on one of these women and try to develop a relationship? Well, there's the standard normal answer that I've held on to for the last few years, which is there isn't anyone I like. But in these last 2 months, I've realized a second answer, maybe a couple more, smaller ones. I'm realizing I like the attention more than anything else because anything else is a mirage and a landmine. Unless you know in your gut it isn't, but again, that very rarely happens. When I realize I'm entering an actual relationship, it doesn't look or feel like I think it's supposed to. In reality, it's more like two cats noticing each other, agreeing to meet up elsewhere, and then clawing each other's faces for about 4 hours. The reason you don't act on this attention you're receiving is because it really is like an illusion, or like trying to grab water. The moment you try to grab it, you can see it, it's there, but the moment you try to grab it, it's not solid, and you might fall in and drown. Enjoying just the attention feels so much better than falling for this trickery, this deception, because it is an acknowledgement you are becoming somebody. You are becoming someone worth paying attention to. Now, what exactly changed? I have no idea. I'm not doing anything differently, but it's like the vibrations my existence is putting out has changed in some way, and I can see the effects of that. Now, some observations from this weird position I'm not used to. There is a nasty pleasure in being rewarded socially or with attention for what is essentially denying someone something. I've realized when you're playing the field, and in life in general, what someone thinks you are is always more valuable to them than what you actually are. They love the idea of you more than they would ever love actual you. So to be this biological platform from which people can idealize whatever they want to idealize, and then to deny them that, and deny them that in two ways, both in the sense they can't have what they think you are, and denying them in the sense what they're idealizing is never going to exist. So it's a double denial. Feels really good in a mean way, and you can rake in these dreadful gains by doing nothing, by focusing on something else. Next observation. Most women don't have spines, and that's unfortunate because all of my most important relationships, all of them but one, I didn't initiate. The woman initiated, and she was honest with herself and with me about what she was doing. Yes, stupid, I'm making a pass at you. Most women are not going to do that. Their goal will be get you to notice them, to take interest in them, but they will not admit that to you, and they are probably going to be trying to, or not to, admit that to themselves, while taking very obnoxious actions. Because what I'm learning is most women don't have game, to a laughable degree, and maybe to a sad degree. I'm really hoping this comes down mainly to socialization. The pinnacle most are capable of is trying to get you to do something in increasingly embarrassing or humiliating ways. I don't know if it's fear or lack of finesse. The lowest example, and it's funny, but it's also aggravating, was this girl following me around a store and looking at me. And if a dude did that, cops would be involved in 5 seconds. It's embarrassing for the both of us, but moments like these are like Saint O'Neill's, or the purpose Saint O'Neill's Two Girls, One Cup tool is, I think. If you're a dude or an initiating lesbian and you feel bad about your self esteem or your game or whatever, seeing a woman do something dumb and creepy like that should make you feel better. Because as bad as you are not that bad. You have the capability to do something. To, stand with your chest out. More often, though, and much subtler, what you're going to see a lot more often is treating you like a friend out of nowhere. And there's a difference between this and politeness or even acquaintanceship. What I'm talking about is a friendliness that is personal, even confidential, in a totally otherwise unearned way. And I think this is the more common one because it's so subtle, right? Because it's not a proposition and then an affirmation or a rejection. It is friendliness, personal friendliness, and then a reciprocation or not. Because if someone is being nice and personal with you, it is very easy and natural to be friendly and personal back. It it almost feels like nothing is happening, but it is, because that shit ramps up. And it's almost like you're dancing, but you are being led into the steps you are desired to take. And your stupid, dumb ass might appreciate that, might think it's a good thing, but in dealing with people in general, first impressions are important. And it's not just a getting someone to like you or dislike you thing. It sets the stage for how you are going to act or interact in the future. And this is the most common thing I see. It's beginning with manipulation and obfuscation. That's not going to stop. It's only going to get more intense as time goes on. That's why, despite the initial friction and discomfort and feeling reptilian, I prefer my method of entering relationships. Lots of honesty and pain and suffering in the beginning, and then the foundation of honesty is established, as much as it can be. Now, none of these are directives on how to act. These are observations from a weird position I'm in. I still believe focusing on your assets and capabilities as a human are more important than anything, but you do what you need to do. Now, men in social movements. I think the modern, contemporary, first world man feels restricted, unheard, and unfelt. That's why you see so many male-focused grifters selling so much varied shit. None of which works, by the way. But they're selling it, they succeed selling it, because it's something different, and it's something men can attach themselves to. In an effort to feel less restricted, to feel heard, and to feel felt. But what do we mean by felt specifically? Well, we talked a while ago about men and the capacity for force. And even men without that capacity, or especially sometimes, fall back on force of some kind. If not physical, then intellectual or bureaucratic, something. Force. You'll see men buy into bullshit by lending their capacity for force, however minimal it is. They always choose someone autocratic they believe represents their will on a larger scale. Meaning, by lending their capacity for force to this person's will, they are actually strengthening their own will. And in their support, they get to see their will acted out in massive scale on the world. Monkey together strong. Now, these grifters never do actually represent these individuals' will, but that doesn't matter. The feeling is what matters. Getting to feel stronger than they actually are, getting to feel heard via someone else's words, and getting to feel felt with a collection of other forces directed by this autocratic figure. And that will go on until individual men start realizing those three desires, even if they can't articulate them, are not being met. Then a disaffected group starts growing. And then one of two things happens. Either that disaffected group submits themselves again to another grifter, thinking things are going to be different this time, or they overthrow the initial talking head, that grifter, and then do the first thing. Submit themselves to another group hoping things are going to be different. It never is, but that's the way it goes. And I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure I am, this point was initially related to the purpose men versus women serve in your causes. Because on this channel, it is the weirdest thing. Our demographics, in terms of statistics, are broken up into 2/3 men, 1/3 women. And the men, while full of piss and vinegar, are ready to go out and accomplish goals, they also have a high turnover rate. Not always, but generally. And I think it's because our fundamentals do not meet those three subconscious or unconscious needs, desires the modern man wants. Whereas women on the channel speak often in opposition, but then stick around for 5 years. Why is that? I have no idea yet. These are observations. But in terms of purpose, usefulness, I think men are valuable as temporary cannon fodder. And these grifters I mentioned earlier, what do you notice about their core audiences? They are always very young men. Older men might enjoy them, but you don't see them backing them the way they might have when they were 18 or 19. I think it is a generational thing. Quick turnover generational thing. Young men need something to believe in. And the longer these grifters stay around, the wider their audiences get, the more they seem like the options. And even though as older men age and they filter out, they participated in creating that wider foundation and creating that limiting or apparent but false limiting of options. I think a fair percentage of men reach a certain age and realize they need to be their own leaders. Not all, but a fair number. Ergo, how do you exploit men if you choose to? Find young men, hold up a sock puppet enemy, and then give them work to do. And that sounds scummy, because it is. That is probably, if you're a dude, either is happening to you or has happened to you. Stop, don't, take control of your own life. And then women in this situation are confusing, because I don't understand why stick around. Why? I don't get it. But and maybe this is a society thing. Treat men disposably, give them grunt work, don't expect them to survive or to stick around if they do survive. Women, even if they are talking shit and doing this and that, notice they aren't going anywhere, and then give them specialist training and responsibilities. And don't get involved with them, any one of them, for the love of God. To wrap up, we are working on some stuff. Hopefully, piecemeal, things are going to start rolling out. Nothing's going to change. We aren't going to find a solution. We aren't going to save anyone, anything, or ourselves. But if nothing else, more shit will hopefully start rolling downhill soon enough. And one last thing, it's I don't know how to feel about it. The way all of this stuff that we've talked about in this video would be obvious, I think, to a normal person, but to me, it's a revelation. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.